The National Hurricane Center releases Hurricane Ophelia's tropical cyclone report. We'll be talking about that. And also all the seasons in one day, it seems, in parts of the United States as a weather front moves through, delivering extreme weather. And welcome to another day on WeatherBeat. April the 14th is what the day that we're coming into the weekend, and we've got plenty of things again to talk about at this time. The first and the top headline that we're going to be discussing tonight is Hurricane Ophelia's TCR, the Tropical Cyclone Report, which has been released by the National Hurricane Center. And to talk about it right now, as whether it was a good or a bad report, it's Isaac Gomez. Isaac, how are you?
Doing great, Nathan.
Hurricane Ophelia, the National Hurricane Center have done very little on its Tropical Cyclone Report that deviates from the operational analysis. Do you think that's right?
Well, seems about right. I think they dropped it 1 millibar, I believe, in the TCR.
For the sake of 1 millibar. When you were tracking Hurricane Ophelia, what were you thinking?
I was thinking, how is it possible that a Category 3 can form at this high northeast of a latitude? That's what I was thinking.
A very notable storm for what it did, reaching Category 3 intensity to the southwest of the Azores and holding on to hurricane intensity for so long before impacting the British Isles only about 12 hours after turning post-tropical. Around the time, Isaac, was there ever a time that you were thinking Hurricane Ophelia was going to make it the first hurricane landfall in Ireland since the disputed landfall of Debbie in 1961?
Well, I didn't really think about that, to be honest. I mean, Shear pretty much takes care of that, and on top of that, the waters would get cold eventually, so it was pretty much no matter of time before it would turn extratropical. And
what it said in the report as well is because of the something to do with the temperature deviations in the area allowed for unusual conditions to prevail, which allowed Ophelia to maintain its intensity over water temperatures usually not high enough to sustain any kind of tropical cyclone, never mind a Category 3.
Yeah, I find that interesting. I mean, it was quite a shocker to see. Well, first of all, you wake up to a Category 1, you know, that far north, which is, albeit rare, it does happen every now and then. I think Epsilon was kind of near that latitude, if I'm not mistaken. It may have been farther south. But to wake up to a Category 3 that far north is just a shocker. And I think it held on to its topicality until, like, it was just to the west of Portugal, I want to say.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that.
All right, and we were talking about it yesterday as well on WeatherBeat, and the news about the retirements. What's your thoughts on those 4 named storms that were retired yesterday?
I think that pretty much all 4 of them should be retired. I know Nate. They retired Otto last year in 2016 because of its impact in Nicaragua, and I know Nate did quite an impact on there. I'm not too fond of how many deaths it caused there. I want to say somewhere around 40 deaths or so it caused, and I believe they had a national day of mourning because of that. And usually when that happens, that usually means that the storm will get retired, and looks like Nate did get retired.
And the choice of naming replacements, thumbs up from you. It's a contentious subject in some parts of the hurricane tracking community.
Ooh. I mean, there's not really any good names to pick anymore because all of them were destructive and bad already and have been used.
But the new ones, thumbs up, thumbs down. Harold?
Harold, I mean, it's all right. It's better than, you know, just like any other names. It's better than Gert or any.
Idalia.
I don't know. That's gonna be weird. That's gonna be a kind of a weird name to say during live events when that forms, if it does.
Margot, that's one that some people have been vocal about not liking.
I mean, it's better than, you know, other names, but I mean, just for the NHC's sake, I mean, what really names can you think of? I mean, eventually they're pretty much going to get used up some way.
And
maybe not in my time.
Nate gets replaced with Nigel as well.
Yeah, that's a fair name, I guess. I mean, there's some people that are called that around here, so I mean, I guess it's fair.
Our commentators yesterday were saying that at least 2 of those names were so old world, 1700s, but that's their opinion anyway. Hey.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to mention? All of the reports have now been released from the National Hurricane Center in the Atlantic, as far as I'm aware.
Well, going back to some of them, I know they believe it's quite controversial now that Irma was downgraded from 185 to 180. When I believe now that's kind of a reasonable logical thing, because I know something happened with the data, and the data, looking at the data, led them to conclude that the winds were around 180 miles an hour. But then again, later on in the years, there may be some new information that may sprout up, and whether that's official or not, can kind of maybe slightly change its intensity, maybe upward, downward. But I believe that the 180 estimate is quite a fair estimate, unless we see some other official data to support that it was higher.
All right, Isaac, Force 13 member, you've seen him on some of our live events. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Nathan.
As many of you know, coming into this weekend, there's been a severe weather event in many parts of the United States, a large-scale one, you might want to say, and it's been delivering all kinds of weather to the regions in the central part of the US, and is moving on towards the east at this time, delivering anything from blizzards to rainstorms to thunderstorms, tornado activity, flooding, and even wildfires as well. And to talk about it now, with me is Devon Williams, one of our long-standing contributors. And, well, where do we start with this event?
Yeah, this is pretty much a system that is dominating almost 2/3 of the weather pattern over the entire continental United States. This is just an extremely impressive system. I'm located in central Pennsylvania, and because of this system, we're currently getting temperatures that are in the mid-70s, which is pretty unseasonable for mid-April. By the way, only, I think, 60 miles to the north of me, there's actually winter weather advisories currently out. So
that's amazing.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's not too far to the north of me. Not even 60 miles, maybe 50 miles to the north of me.
And there have also been severe thunderstorm warnings during Friday that were in blizzard warning areas.
Oh boy, this is one of those things that happen. Yeah, with this system, I know that there were some very severe storms that pushed through Wisconsin earlier today, produced a lot of hail reports, and they're currently underneath a winter weather watch right now. Once the cold front passes through them, they will be getting some snow. Speaking of the significant snow right now, I know that there was a special weather statement out for, I believe it was North Platte, Nebraska, where they specifically said that there was a very significant snow squall coming through, visibility being reduced to effectively 0, 50-mile-an-hour plus winds, and snowfall rates at 1 inch per hour plus, which is extremely significant. There are a lot of blizzard warnings out for western Nebraska, central South Dakota. I need to actually look at the map to see exactly how much the blizzard warnings stretch. Yep, they stretch into northwestern Iowa, which had some severe weather earlier today, and also into southwestern Minnesota. And there's also winter storm advisories, warnings out for Wisconsin, Michigan, New York, Vermont, all that stuff. And also with this, this storm is producing strong winds, obviously, but it's also pulling a lot of dry air with it. A lot of dry air, a lot of wind, that's going to create your fire hazard. So there are extremely critical, there's an extremely critical fire hazard in the southwestern United States today and will be persisting for quite a while. Extremely critical conditions today, critical conditions tomorrow, critical conditions on Monday, and critical conditions on Tuesday, which is impressive. It just shows you, and then it shows you just how strong this dry line is that's associated with the storm. And then, of course, you have the tornadoes. Currently, there are 3 tornado warnings out. Only 1 confirmed tornado so far today. I'm going to make sure that is still the case.
As of the time of recording, that's at around just before midnight UTC, coming into the 14th of April, evening time in the US. What are we expecting overnight into tomorrow morning onwards?
Well, as of right now, what appears is going to happen is it looked like that there was going to be a very widespread outbreak in central Arkansas. The storms that have popcorned in central Arkansas have not really reached the potential that we were necessarily expecting. They're not reaching the potential that we were necessarily expecting at this time. Obviously, with more time, maybe they can develop into more mature systems. But right now, there's not even severe warnings on those storms. But closer to the cold front, there are 3 tornado warnings. 1 right now crossing Texas into Arkansas. A second one, which produced a tornado earlier today, the 1 tornado earlier today, is just now moving into Missouri and may come close to Branson. And the third one is basically right behind that storm.
Yeah. So as we enter the latter part of the weekend coming into Sunday, any particular threat there?
Okay, so for tomorrow, the severe weather threat is going to shift to the southeastern United States. So Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, they're going to be in the firing grounds. I don't think that the threat is going to necessarily be as high as today, but the threat will definitely be there for supercell development, and then of course the line of severe storms that will develop along the cold front as the cold front pushes through. So that's likely to happen. As far as the threat for Sunday, the area where most of the severe weather is would occur is going to be off the Atlantic coast. So the severe weather threat is going to be for Sunday.
And if anything does happen in the area, or if anything significant is going on, we may be on hand to talk about it in other sections as well. Did something go on with the Force 13 US stream this evening?
Yes, from what I understand, there was a technical failure with getting the stream up and running. The person that was supposed to boot up the stream was unable to do so. So well,
I'll get to the bottom of what's going on with that, and we'll make sure that we've got a stream if anyone wishes to stream with us tomorrow, Saturday that is, and indeed on Sunday if anything is of note. So do check out Force 13 US, one of our regional channels, for more updates. And if it's important enough, it will make the main channel. If not, it will be on WeatherBeat tomorrow evening. But thanks very much for that update, Devon, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Wednesday saw flooding and landslides in Argentina and Peru, resulting in over 44 evacuations. Rainstorms this week in Malawi, approximately 495 people are displaced, with crops and agriculture damaged. 5 have been killed and 3 others are missing in Kenya after more rainfall affects there. Also on wildfire watch, Oklahoma likely to be one of the worst affected places today and possibly into next week. And let us know about the weather in your backyard. If you have a local story or any footage for us, do send it in at any of our social outlets or directly by email, contact@force13.com. you've heard recently how it's been a fairly active time in the southern hemisphere as the cyclone season down there comes to a close. It's been a particularly bad time in recent weeks for Fiji. Of course, Tonga was also involved with Cyclone Gita, and most recently Cyclone Kenny passed through the area of the South Pacific. And here to talk about it right now is David Tones. Hello David, how are you?
Not bad, thanks Nathan. In under 2 weeks, Cyclone Josie and Kenny interspersed with heavy rain has left towns, inundated roads, impassable, power and water out. The power and water issues are major. I've been monitoring various accounts on the Twitter social media platform. The local branch of the Red Cross over there in Fiji is saying the pressure is high and is running low on supplies. Our volunteers are working tirelessly. Most times they go
According
without
to whom was that, sorry?
That's the local Red Cross. Apparently resources are thinning out and the local volunteers are doing a wonderful job.
So I'm
back in the 80s.
I'm guessing they're reaching out for more aid if possible, because the situation seems to be potentially on a knife edge there.
Well, you just imagine having Josie and Kenny striking the region. The Weather Nandy office, they had quite a few warnings in place. Major flooding, at least people have been killed, Nathan, during the recent bad weather. Power outages remains an issue. Hundreds remain in evacuation centres, mainly after Kenny swept past the rest, and over the island of Kadavu, that really took the force of the cyclone. The authorities are encouraging people to vacate schools, which act as shelters in storms so children can return to school.
Now, David, I don't know if you've been following this story as well, but one we were talking about yesterday, I'm just checking to see if you know anything more about this. In Vanuatu, the volcano over there, a state of emergency was declared in Vanuatu yesterday due to ash falling, and apparently it's some reports from that island is that it's becoming uninhabitable. Have you heard anything on that?
I haven't got any information, but perhaps we could cover this a little bit more in detail in our next update. Vanuatu, Nathan, level 3 warning remains in place for that volcano. Vanuatu Meteorological Service, I think they put out their first advisory back on April the 4th. And as I just mentioned, the level is number 3.
3 out of what? Is that the most severe, or we don't know?
I think I'm not sure, but we can come back to that in our...
All right. I was just curious, see if you knew anything more than we did over here at Force 13 HQ. Thanks very much for that update, David. And of course, you can find David's latest ramblings, I'm sure.
Thank you.
And he wants company over there as well on Force 13 AU and Oceaneer, one of our channels that we also run as well down there for the South Pacific region, and of course the entirety of Australia. So that's all from there, and if you're interested in that part of the world, do check it out. Well, that's all for now. Here's the list of storm names for tropical cyclones this year in 2018 around the world. As ever, you can follow Force 13's many outlets, the website, force13.com. You can also find our YouTube page, subscribe if you haven't already for the latest. We're also on Facebook, like our page on there, search Force 13 all in text, and follow our Twitter page, @Force13 is the handle. You can also add my Skype account, search Force 13 all in text, or Fool13, add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat.